Hello everyone, it's match preview time. I'm Paul Machin. It's a Machin Pajak sandwich going on today.
Just like I like it.
Yeah, Chris Pajak is the meat between a Paul Machin, John Machin, pieces of bread.
It feels old school, this.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know the last time the three of us were on a show together like this. It's wicked.
Yeah, if anyone who watches knows that, then you probably need to get a life. But it would be useful nevertheless. I would find that interesting to know, but it wouldn't change what I've just said.
It'll be Jeff.
I think Jeff's got a life. Careful. Hi, Jeff.
Sorry, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. Only best. Liverpool versus LASK. It is the penultimate game of the group, so you might say
second to
LASK, but by no means least of these fixtures.
You wouldn't say that.
No, second to LASK.
Dad, they gave us a decent game back in September. The managers talked about how they're not coming here to be tourists. They will.
Yeah,
they are.
Sure.
That's what's going to happen in a general sense. But look, they've got stuff to play for in the group. Jurgen Klopp's called for it to hopefully be like a traditional European night. I think he might be a little disappointed, but
particularly with snowing.
Yeah, well, I hope he's right. I do hope he's right because I don't think it actually hurts us for it to be a competitive game of football from a fan's perspective, if nothing else.
Well, no, that's certainly true for the fans, but I mean the fact that we lost to Toulouse and didn't get the automatic top spot means that we do still have something to play for, and this is the best opportunity we'll have. So I'm hoping they do treat it really seriously and go out there, to actually batter them.
Yeah.
To John's point there, I think there will be a few changes. I know we're going to come on to it and stuff like that, but I do think it's going to be almost entirely made up of first team squad players, and that means for me that the message from the manager to the players is go out there and get yourself a spot in the first team. Go out there and prove yourself, and don't let those levels drop, because I think if you're a manager of a top side like this, there must be nothing more frustrating than seeing a performance that's below par from lads who should be fired up and trying to get into the sides. And it's that messaging going into the game, isn't it? And I think that the Premier League right now has to be the clear priority for Liverpool Football Club, with where we are in the table and how everything's going and the other teams around us slipping up and stuff like that. But we shouldn't take our eye off the ball in the Europa League either, because it may be our second best chance of silverware after probably the League Cup. Mm-hmm. But you're not really asked about the League Cup. It's much more important to get a European silverware, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, ultimately, what are they playing for here? Yeah, placing the knockouts. But we had a brief chat about it before. You need the freedom to pick the teams that you want to pick. This is the busy period of the season now, and injuries are going to start to bite. We've seen that happen already. We'll talk about Alisson and Jota in a second. But so there's a balancing act of you want to make sure you've got the strongest team for the weekend to come, but actually you don't want to go into that like week, 2 weeks in and around Christmas with another game that's super competitive that you've really got to go flat out for.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford, at this stage to prioritise too much. Yeah. No one would want us to put a gang of kids out against LASK and not get top spot. Mm-hmm. And then, just so we can beat Fulham with a top of the range side. Yeah. I mean, so I wouldn't expect that at all. I do expect it'll be similar to the side which has been playing in the Europa League, so Gravenberch, Harvey Elliott, Endo. I expect to see them on the pitch, even though they wouldn't necessarily be on the pitch for Fulham.
Yeah.
But I don't think of them as a step down. I think of them as guys fighting for their place, as Chris said. Particularly Harvey Elliott. I mean, he's had some terrific games as a substitute, but. Yeah. He's got to try and say, I want that third spot in midfield.
Yeah.
The one that Gravenberch is going for as well. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely that. And that's often the difference. We forget this sometimes. And it speaks to the quality of the squad, Chris, that we've been in situations in cups before. I mean, look, we've rotated in the Champions League group stages before, once we know we've been through. I mean, some of the players that played in the San Siro when we played AC Milan is absolutely wild, but we'd earned the right to do that. But this is not that situation where I think you were kind of saying at the top of the show, where sometimes we go, throw the kids in. It's like, don't throw the kid. Don't just throw the kids in. Listen, if the kids deserve to be in there, by all means, play them because they're clearly talented enough. But this is not the time to piss around, because if you piss around here, you might find that you're going to have to go a lot harder than you ever dreamed of doing when you play the next game.
Absolutely.
In a couple of weeks time.
And as you say, the games around that are important. Obviously, you've got Manchester United and Arsenal on the horizon after you've played the next Europa League game and stuff like that. So you want to be able to rest and rotate on your agenda, on your time scale, not on somebody else's, isn't it, I suppose? And it's one of the things that I think, I look down the 62 at Manchester City, and we've just played them at the weekend, and they didn't make a single substitution in that game because they're feeling the pinch at the moment, squad wise. Just not money wise, but they are. And I think Guardiola does a good job in those competitions, if you can take the red tinted glasses off, of making wholesale changes and still getting wins, which allows him to play Premier League games where he doesn't make as many substitutes. Because
you don't think it was the club saying, that Everton thing, we better make ourselves look a bit poorer.
Well, maybe throw an extra keeper on the bench, Pep.
Newcastle with their 7 substitutes last night against PSG.
This is all part and parcel. There's different ways of skinning the cat, isn't there? And Jürgen, I think, has gone into this season saying, I'm going to use 5 subs in pretty much every game that I can. And that's the way that he's doing it. And we might look at it and go...
You also look at last season, following on from trying to win 4 trophies, when they were all... They'd shot, half this team had been totally destroyed. So, rotating 5 every game makes actual sense.
Take advantage of the rules.
If he wants to compete in all 4 competitions.
Yeah, exactly. Take advantage. And, it might... sometimes I think, as a Liverpool fan myself, you look at it and go, why is he bringing Dom on here? But he's only bringing him on for 10-15 minutes. And quite often they have that little sort of unwritten rule, written rule, where it's like, if you play 21 minutes, you get a rest day. Yeah. And he knows that he does that, and he gets the rest day. Yeah. And it's all part and parcel of it, isn't it?
And also, it comes back to a little bit of disrespect towards the Europa League, is that if we were playing Champions League games, these lads would be playing well more minutes than they've been playing this season. Like Mo Salah plays 90 minutes, more or less, twice a week when we play Champions League football. So actually, if a lad comes on for 10-15 minutes here and there, who's asked? In fact, they want to come on because they want to get goals, and they actually want to make sure they're sharp. And that's it. To your point, we're not quite there. We're about to enter the period where there is no rest, and you go flat out for 3 or 4 weeks. It's like the mid. Well, it's from this week basically up until the FA Cup, when you really get to decide what team goes out in that game, where everyone's just going to have to suck it up and crack on with it, really. And the 5 sub thing, again, I think it's about buy-in. It's about telling the lads, well, we're carrying a big squad this season. This is why, because I think you're all good enough to play a part in the side. You touched on the fixtures thing, Chris. I want to get that up so we can have a little chat around it, because it is interesting. What the knock-on impact of Liverpool not securing qualification in this game. The next game in the group play, the final match day 6, is Union Saint-Gilloise over in Brussels, of course. That is after Crystal Palace on Saturday the 9th, which is the early kick-off, which is kind of irrelevant. It's a nice break between them two. But you mention it. The weekend that follows it is Manchester United. We've then got the AFL Cup quarter final against West Ham in the week building up to the week before Christmas. We've got Liverpool Arsenal on the 23rd, Burnley on Boxing Day, and then Newcastle on New Year's Day. That Union game is a nice little pit stop, because as I said, that you could end up in a situation where there's that, and then there's the FA Cup third round. Now that will totally be draw dependent, because if you get a Chelsea or as we always get, or an Arsenal or whatever in the third round, that will dictate that slightly. But if you get a Championship team or whatever in there, then you actually have got total freedom to pick almost whatever 11s you want. But in the middle of it, everyone just goes for it.
Yeah, but you've also got to consider, I suppose, as well as all of that you might even have a semi-final for a Carling Cup in there as well. To
follow, that'll be just after that.
Just after the FA Cup, you still need that, but then you've still got to think two more games that could be added into the calendar and stuff as well, which makes that FA Cup game even more important, which makes that USG game even more important, that you're able to get some rest for players and stuff like that. And I think it's one of those things. This is what we want as football fans, isn't it? This is what Jürgen wants as a football manager, and how you navigate through. I've been saying the next 11 games, going back before the City game up to Newcastle, will define the season. But that right there, what you've just shown everybody from USG to Newcastle, is it. That's the most important part of this season, as I see it, for Liverpool, and that and this game is a precursor to being able to do what you want in those.
Absolutely. Let's do the injury news then. Jurgen Klopp did his press conference and revealed that, without being totally specific on it, and I think some of this is a little unknown still, but Alisson and Jota, we know, both injured in the Manchester City game. Alisson, he said for both of them, definitely no chance of seeing them this week. Alisson probably next week as well, but that would be the point where he might well start to come back. Jota, there was no time frame given on it. He felt that'd be longer, but also he didn't say he's definitively out. But then we all know Liverpool are the biggest bullshitters going when it comes to laying out the truth about who's injured and who's not.
Yeah, after City.
What?
After City. After Man City.
Yeah.
They're,
After Man City. Totally. Yeah. It's like, it is after Man City, I know, and now they're talking about it. Yeah, okay, in the pecking order of who is bullshitters, yeah, absolutely. And classic Ferguson, Man United.
Yeah, Ferguson.
And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United, except everyone knew he was lying. You little meth, what are you doing, Solskjaer? Just packing in, we know you're lying. Get off your Alex Ferguson.
Got a job and he's still getting it here.
Alex Ferguson's big book of bullshit. He's getting a copy for it. Large font, lots of drawings. You can see it
from the parking space next to Alex Ferguson's.
Oh, God.
What a loser.
Yeah,
just parking his space.
Yeah, loser.
I don't know, you don't work there.
Yeah, it's fine. Trouble. Bless him. Yes, the goalie stuff, let's go with that first and foremost, because as much as it's a real blow losing Jota, we've bought loads of attackers, so you'd like to think that you can cope with losing one for a little spell if you have to.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Gakpo desperately, needs to cement a place in the side, which he hasn't really done. Absolutely, and there'll be young lads all looking for the place as well. But let's do the goalie, because you immediately said to me, the goalie.
Yes, you immediately said to me, "Oh, Adrian." And my heart stopped. Well, this is the thing.
Not even in the squad.
And this sparked the conversation. My heart immediately stopped. And I said, why? And he said, well, because technically he's now Kelleher. But then, of course,
Kelleher's now the number one.
We realised that, yes, of course, Adrian is not registered for the squad because we couldn't register that many foreign players.
The two players whose names are impronounceable to me
Vitislav Jaros, Marcello Pitaluga.
That's brilliant.
Marcello, good friend of the show, Marcelo Pitaluga.
I'll have to practice.
Yeah,
that's good.
I am. I
mean, they might be playing all the time now, won't they?
Well, this is, and that's the point. And I think it would have been an interesting conversation if Adrian was registered to follow on with that. But I don't know. For me, anyway, I don't know what your thoughts is, Dad. If Kelleher's going to play, just play him. Because actually, the more games he plays, the better he's going to be for the games that sort of really matter.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Well, what are you talking about here? Not playing Kelleher?
Well, that was the point. Was if Kelleher's Alisson, then does the backup goalie play the Europa League games?
Ridiculous. Yeah. Kelleher plays all of the games.
Yeah,
Adrian's not the number 2.
Yeah,
and Kelleher, he's the number 3, and Kelleher gets given the Europa League because he's the number 2. When he's the number 1, he plays both of them. Yeah, he plays all of them.
I agree. Yeah,
I genuinely don't think it's a conversation. Yeah,
like Alisson doesn't.
Yes, like Alisson doesn't. Because you are trying to terrible way groom Kelleher to be a goalkeeper.
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm totally in on that. It never entered my head for a single second. And as I say,
and also I knew that Adrian wasn't allowed to play in this game.
Yeah,
so we haven't got anyone who could play in this game if Kelleher doesn't.
But there is an outside chance that if Liverpool are qualified by the time the USG game rolls around, maybe you consider Pitaluga or whomever for that one if it's a dead rubber, and it depends on the prognosis on Alisson, because if you need to give him another sort of week off and Kelleher's playing back to back to back, he should be fine. Goalkeepers are meant to play every game. And also don't forget that you can actually use Adrian in the Premier League if there's a problem with Kelleher. So again, I don't think I think you still play Kelleher. But it's not about there being a problem with Kelleher. I mean, more. There's a problem with Adrian. That's the problem. yes, yeah. I've got a problem with this conversation. The problem is look, and there's a very roundabout way, but everyone said is nobody wants to see Adrian playing goal for Liverpool. Yeah, that's why Jürgen didn't put him in the squad. What would ultimately say is, the question was, another player rather than if Kelleher's now the number 1. Does he get rested in the games that the number 1 normally gets rested? That's no. Yeah. And you're saying no, and that's fine. Now we know that there isn't really a backup anyway. And that's again. That's the point on that. Is I don't think Jaros or Pitaluga are ready for that. step up yet.
Correct.
So, and it would depend. So again, if Alisson was out for 2 months, I do wonder, and we got like a Championship or League One side in the FA Cup third round, for example, that's a conversation where you might consider one of the younger goalies just to give him a look in, because ultimately Pitaluga's pretty much the same age as Kelleher was when he was playing those League Cup games.
The pre-season, didn't they?
Yeah, they've all had little looks in, like, you know. I think Jaros actually is probably ahead of him in the pecking order, but yeah. Probably not a talking point, really.
I was going to say we spent a lot talking about a non-talking point.
Yeah,
but for what it's worth, right, I would play Kelleher in every game, regardless of whether it's the FA Cup in January and Alisson's still out. Yeah. For me, it's finding out what Kelleher is. Yeah. You know, it could be, you never know, that Liverpool are trying to get the value up there or something as well, because obviously he probably wants to move on if he can't displace Alisson Becker, but I think he now is at the point of his career where he does actually genuinely need games. And I think that's why the last couple of years we've seen him get cup runs and stuff like that. But we'll know whether he's worth keeping around and bending over backwards and changing our rules for number 2 goalkeepers for if he gets a sustained run of games and puts it in. Because if he's brilliant, then you just bend over backwards to keep him as your number 2.
These are decisive moments in careers. They really are. Is that we're all sat here today, and we did a little bit of this on the podcast this week, but I think it's an interesting point that I don't think, look, Alisson's the best goalie in the world, and unfortunately, therefore, every other goalkeeper, and least of all the guy you own beneath him, is not as good as Alisson Becker. At some point, though, young players get an opportunity, and I would almost rather be in a world where your young goalkeeper gets his chance and becomes brilliant, rather than Alisson reaches a point in his career where he goes, I've had enough, I'm going to get off, and you go, well, now it's time to find out whether our backup goalie's worth his salt. I'm not suggesting for a second that this is the start of Kelleher's run as Liverpool's first choice goalie for the rest of his career or whatever, but I really want to know more. I thought he was brilliant when he was given the chances in the cup double season, and I have been underwhelmed with him since. But the only way for a goalkeeper to ever truly show what they're capable of is to play a run of football matches, and that was we found that out a lot over the years. You just need to trust them at some point.
Well, I mean, he must have wanted to move on, I would have thought, and the club have persuaded him that he was going to get enough games, to stick around. So, the fact that he's now going to get a lot of games, that must be, Kelleher must be in heaven. He must think this is brilliant. Yeah. I'm now going to show everyone what I've got, and good luck to him. I mean, I've always been quite confident about him. He's not. I always judge goalies. I've said this before about whether they scare me when they come on the pitch, and he doesn't scare me at all. I forget about him in games for, let him get on with it.
I've been stood next to you at those games, a lot of them that we've seen over the last few years with the Auto Cup scheme and stuff, and very much sat quietly next to John during the Auto Cup scheme and stuff like that. And you've said that to me in the past, and I've got to say I feel exactly the same way. But I am with Paul on the, like, you said it the other day, I think on the podcast, he just needs to save more.
And look, these are sharpness things, because actually it's funny because he's such a cool customer. He's actually really good with his feet, and that's so natural that he just walks in and does that. He's so good at that. But actually, the finer points of being a goalkeeper only really come when you challenge yourself and you push and whatever. You don't even play under 21 games.
You don't get what Alisson's got. That ability to just stand in front of someone and make them miss. You just don't get that until you've got the experience.
No, exactly. You earn that with the striker going up against you, don't you, in their head.
It happened for Alisson at some point. We buy him after that. He's only done a season really at Roma when he's at the main goalie. He's behind Chesney before that, and at some point somebody proves themselves ready to take over. We're in a really awkward situation. We've had this for a number of positions in this side over the last 5 years. When you've got best in class, it's very difficult to attract someone who's either going to sit underneath or thinks they're going to get above and beyond.
Position?
Right back, we've had it right wing, we've had it centre half, we've had it in we had a DM for a while, or the entire front three was very much like that as well. Trying to find a fourth for a front three that was called the front three proved quite difficult. So it's a big chance for him. I hope he takes it. I hope we give him the opportunity. Ultimately, because we haven't really got a choice. So there's a big moment coming ahead where it could be a concern if he doesn't kind of flourish in it. But from what we've seen so far, I hope we get more of that, basically. Just briefly on the Jota stuff, Chris, it is a blow. I didn't want to skate over it too much, but he... I hope it's not an extended one, because look, he's our third top goal scorer at the moment.
Yes.
We are lucky that Luis Diaz, this is the point now where he's probably set to kick on. You know, he's kind of put his thing behind him. I think his family have now moved to Liverpool as well, so, or they've certainly all been over here, so that will have eased.
Liverpool are paying for him to be over at least from last night, a couple of days ago, at least until post-Christmas and stuff. But you're absolutely right. Now, the Diaz thing, it's dovetailing, unfortunately, quite nicely with the Jota thing at the moment, because I think when you think back to the start of the season, Diaz got a couple of goals. He'd started the season really well. He looked like he was trying to get more goal contributions, be that goals, be that assists. Picks up that injury, has to deal with that for a little bit. Then obviously has the mad stuff happen in his personal life, and isn't able to get back on, I think at the weekend, probably start the game because of the international travel and all that type of stuff. And I feel like what you just said there, he's primed to come in, and this might be that opportunity where he comes in, whether it's this game, whether it's the weekend game, and takes that slot and puts a marker down and goes, no, it's my spot. And when Jota's injured, he won't be getting back in because it's my spot.
You know, it's an interesting situation, because we've got a lot of lads who can actually play on that side. Dad, you know, Cody Gakpo's had a little look in.
Nunez, they all started out on the left.
And that's the thing where, because I was going to kind of say, it'd be interesting to see whether we actually get a little look at Doak at some point on that left, because he's been almost entirely used on the right hand side for us, which is very on what we do. He's very right footed. Someone like him, you know, again, we won't know just yet, but I'm not against it. I'm not saying Doak starts this one, by the way. I think he will go Diaz, Gakpo, either Doak or quite probably Salah, just to maybe get the business done. But we have, it kind of also goes to show we do have a few permutations available to us.
Yeah, and it comes from having five forwards. I mean, you were saying before about when we had three, it was difficult to get a fourth. Suddenly we've got five, but now you realise you need five.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, they're talking, the Echo's saying Alisson's out for 5 games and Jota longer. You know, that's a long time to be without a top goal scorer. Yeah. But, you know, we've got backup and cover, so, you know, hopefully we'll survive it.
And again, look, chance for them to shine. None of them will want anyone else to be out injured or whatever, but this is the entire point. Someone's form drops off, someone else has got to pick up the baton, and in both of those, like, Gakpo, I've been really disappointed with Gakpo so far, and he's been a bit unlucky with injuries as well.
And he's been in different positions, and he's the one who hasn't cemented a position really.
I think he's probably the nail.
Nunez now plays 9, doesn't he, every time?
Yeah.
You know, and Diaz plays left. Gakpo still not really sure he can play. He plays in midfield. He plays as a 10. He plays out on the wing. He's
his best positions. I think his best position's 9, from what we saw, particularly from what we saw last season. But the problem is that the Nunez conundrum, isn't it, Chris? Is that Nunez is starting to look like, why wouldn't you just start Darwin Nunez in the games that you want to be choosing your best sort of 11s? So I don't really know what's next for him. You have this happen. This happened with Arsenal when they had Lacazette and Aubameyang, different centre forwards, with both lads who wants to play number 9, and you're forever putting someone who's not quite the right fit if you want to play them both in the team. I mean, look, Gakpo's ticking along quite nicely, and look, that's a problem that can get resolved in the future. Right now, I think he's going to get this game, and he could probably do with continuing that form.
His problem is that although he played left side before he came to Liverpool converted him into a false 9, and now we're playing him in midfield. Yeah. I mean, the guy must be thinking, what the hell's going on? How can I settle and get a place? Yeah. It's really difficult for him.
But he showed at the weekend he can impact games, and it was only for the run, which was probably the most Bobby Firmino off the ball run you could see to take himself out the game, take a defender out the game, and open up that space for Trent to run into and score from. So he's a clever footballer. I have been disappointed with him as well. I expected him to kick on quite significantly this season, but I think John's right. I think it's because of moving around in and out of the team, all that type of stuff. And when we've gone to this box midfield and we're playing 4 men in the middle, your centre forward isn't needed to drop in. It's just not what you want. You want him to be the tip of the spear, and if Gakpo's going to get into the side, he's going to have to change his game to be able to play the 9 like Liverpool want him to play at the moment. He's clever enough to do it. His understanding of where to be in the penalty area is as good as Jota's, in my opinion. He gets those 5-yard tap-ins because he understands where the space is, he understands where his position needs to be. He just needs to impact the game more, and again, that's rhythm. That's just finding your feet a little bit.
We know he can do it because he was doing it when he first came.
Exactly, and let's not forget here, we've talked a lot about the new midfield. Well, the new midfield affects the forwards. The players who were there, who are maybe playing passes that you kind of gotten used to last season, they're all different this year. It's Tom Szoboszlai, it's Gravenberch, it's Kurt Jones at times, it's Alexis McAllister, Trent. Exactly, it's all different behind him. So there is a period of adaptation that's needed for every player in the side, and he's had less minutes this season with these players in the centre forward position than anybody.
I look at his second goal against United last season. That's just brilliant number 9 play, and getting him behind, great finish from a difficult angle. He's definitely got that in him, but again, it's those people whose natural instincts are going that way. We always said, well, Bobby Firmino, 17-18, gets 20 goals all comps because there's just opportunities where he goes, forget it, I'm just going to score a goal here. His natural instinct.
Post Jota.
Yeah.
He gets more goals post Jota because he goes, all right, you can do it this way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we see a bit more of the deadly Cody Gakpo. I just want to refer you back to 2 starting 11, which I think are most pertinent in terms of figuring out what the manager's going to do for this one. Liverpool's 2-1 win over Bournemouth in the League Cup. We started with Keller in goal. It was Tsimikas, Quansah, Matip, Gomez across the back 4. It was Kurt Jones, Wataru Endo, Harvey Elliott in midfield, and then it was Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Salah.
Yeah, that was mad.
Yeah, and
that
then
was a mad forward line for them, wasn't it?
The Toulouse game was, basically not far off that. It was Tsimikas, Quansah, Matip, Gomez again, back four with Kelleher behind them. McAllister, Endo, Elliott in midfield, Diaz, Gakpo, Doak. Now, we struggled through Bournemouth, albeit in the wildest of conditions that I think anyone's seen this season so far. We got beat by Toulouse. Dad, was there something from that Toulouse game that you think could have been avoided with team selection, or was that, psychological, the Toulouse having the home advantage, blah, blah, blah? Is there anything about what I'm saying is that could be learned from that they need to learn to inform this game?
I don't know. I mean, I think Toulouse actually wanted it more. I think that's what I got from it, that our players weren't that motivated. It was like the game, the competition was already, this part of the competition was already done and dusted. They'd had 3 wins and they just lack motivation is what I took from it. Yeah. And I'm hoping that won't be the case tomorrow because I think Klopp will have got in their ear about the need to finish this off and, get in the top spot and have done with it.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions that I think are around the starting 11 here, and they're posed by the comments here. So Luke says, do you guys think Virgil starts? My immediate reaction to this case is just no, and particularly because you see those 2 11s. Obviously, Quansah starts left side of centre half in both of those. But actually, I think this is a knock-on impact of who plays left back. Yeah,
because I think you're right there, and it's Joe Gomez is playing one of the fullback positions for me.
Yeah.
And my gut tells me...
Didn't he come on? Was it Toulouse he came on as left back?
He starts right back at Toulouse.
He starts left back at Luton, I think it's that game, maybe.
Yeah, he came on at left back.
And it wasn't, it wasn't an outstanding performance from him at left back, if I remember correctly, against Luton. But my initial reaction was Gomez starts right back, and then I was like, worked my way down the line, and was like, oh, Costas, he's played a lot of football.
Yeah.
And Andy Robertson's not fit. So does that mean that Gomez becomes the left back and stuff? And does it give you an opportunity to maybe play a Quansah or something else in there with a Joe Gomez? I don't know. I think it's actually a little bit more of a quandary than you'd maybe think on the surface. My gut now tells me that Gomez is your left back, but who's the right back?
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like if Virgil starts, then it probably means Tsimikas isn't. It doesn't necessarily mean that, because you could just ask them to play 2 games. But it's one of those where I think you're either starting Trent or Van Dijk for similar but different reasons. Is that because if you're not starting Tsimikas, you're either starting a kid at left back. You might be, we've seen a couple of the younger lads have a little look in so far on that one. Conor Bradley's back in training, but he won't. It's very unlikely that he'll be close enough to be involved in this. Could be like an outside little, shove him on the bench and give him a lift or whatever. But yeah, if you're playing Gomez anywhere other than right back, it means Trent's probably starting in that position, because the only one else we've seen do that is Bajcetic, and he's still out injured.
Yeah, particularly if Van Dijk isn't playing, then you've got your captain on the pitch then in Trent.
Yeah, well,
I think Chris is right. Gomez is going to play, isn't he?
Yeah,
because he needs the game.
So Kwanzaa, Konate,
and I'd quite like to see Kwanzaa get another run. I think he'd be good.
Or Gomez. So Gomez left back, do we think? Sorry.
I think probably, because Tsimikas really shouldn't be playing every single game, because with all the games coming up,
if he goes down,
and he's the only left back, really. So
yeah, outside shouts, there are a couple that sort of come to mind. We've seen Bajcetic play there at right back, you mentioned. Could Endo do it if you play in a box midfield with him? I think that's probably something that he could do. The other outside shout is you go to somebody like a Konate to play right back. He spends half the game there anyway. You could play Konate, Matip and Kwanzaa, and you could play Joe Gomez as well. It's wild.
Matip is the wild part of that.
Yeah.
Because he's another one.
But, you've got 3 of them. If they all go down, you're fucked.
Yeah, but so play them all.
No, so what are the chances? You know what I mean? If one of them goes down, you're still sound. You've got Kwanzaa, you've got Matip, you've got Konate. It's a wild, don't get me wrong. It's the 4 centre-halves.
Those 3 in Kwanzaa, Konate and Gomez definitely start for me, I think. It's just where. And it's whether Gomez is starting right back or left back. I would suggest that's probably the answer in that one. Not that we've necessarily answered the question there from I think, was it Luke? The other one, it's not so much a question more of a statement, but a discussion point from Stephen Davies. He says, hi fellas, hate to say it, but Salah needs a rest.
He needs a big rest.
Yeah.
He's been crap.
Yeah,
he's been crap. He got the Premier League Player of the Month last month, and I've never been so shocked in all my life.
Because he gets a goal or an assist every game he plays.
I know, and he's brilliant at that, but his actual in-game
he's
play
brilliant at the things that are the most obvious, important metric of football.
I think everybody would agree he's not been up to scratch.
Yeah.
He's still getting his goals. He's still getting assists. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's not. He has. He's been, in that regard, absolutely superb. But he looks fucked. He doesn't look right. He can't take on a man. He looks tired. He looks like he needs rest. It's just that.
Yeah.
I'd still play him every game.
Yeah.
He's still one of our best players. He's still more impactful than anybody else that we've got. But he doesn't look right.
I think having Doak in there tomorrow was not going to harm anyone, is it, to be honest? But Salah would still probably come in off the bench, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. My thing on Doak is I think we're starting to see in practice what it's like when you put a 16-year-old in your team, is that he's obviously got the pace and he's really aggressive and he really wants it. But so far,
he's got 10 minutes in him every game.
Yeah, but he's not there, is he? He's just not ready for that. I don't think he's ready for that level just yet. Now, you can get ready for that level by playing at that level, and you can improve. But there's a balancing act there. One of the random ones on this was we saw Kay Gordon on the bench against Toulouse. Now, whether that was you've got basically 12 substitutes and do you just do that again to help with his mentality and the rehabilitation, remind him he's part of the first team setup. But I was a shock to me. I looked at the bench, I was just in the ground, and I looked down, I was like, why do I know him?
I know you.
Look, it's Kay Gordon.
You had Harvey Elliott as well, Chris. Chris had him at right side last time, didn't you? And I think that's a possibility.
Tyler Jones here in the comments says Curtis Jones has played right back as well.
Yeah.
So there's another one. Because again it goes back to Curtis Jones needs minutes because he's not played a lot. He comes off 50 something minutes, isn't it? In the or is it 50 minutes? He's one of the first ones who comes off against City.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. So that's 50 odd minutes of football in a few weeks that he's played. But then again, I'd be saying Gravenberch needs to start this one as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, right? I sort of off the weekend's game, I'm sort of thinking I'd rather Jones start and Gravenberch not, and I'd rather Gravenberch get into the Premier League side personally.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, the good thing about all of this is these are just not bad decisions to have to make, really, are they? Right. So who's nailed on? So Kelleher's nailed on.
Yeah.
Konate nailed on.
Yeah.
Is he fit?
Well, let's hope so.
Gomez is nailed on.
Gomez is nailed on.
We don't know where.
Yeah.
But he's nailed on somewhere.
He's loosely nailed on.
He's penciled in 2 positions.
Yeah. He's magnetised to a board. Endo, nailed on.
Nailed on.
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott.
Nailed
Yeah.
on.
Cody Gakpo.
Nailed on.
Yeah.
That's 6.
Diaz has kind of got to be.
Diaz has kind of got to be. That doesn't sound like nailed on.
That's penciled in.
Penciled in. So we've got 6 nailed on starters there. So we've got the other 5 to pick from there. Yeah, math. So
with your fingers up, you struggled with
I know. It was whether I was like, have I counted the goalie or not?
I think Kwanzaa's playing.
Kwanzaa,
nailed on.
7.
What's that make it?
7.
And what are we looking for?
4.
Well done.
We need another fullback.
Yeah.
We need 2 more midfield players.
Who's going to start?
No, Harvey Elliott's in midfield.
Well, to be fair, that sounded like Klopp's shopping
one
list
more
for
midfield.
Christmas.
We need one
Another
more
fullback.
Yeah.
2 more midfielders.
One more midfield. We've got to pick one more midfielder and the right forward. I think is the biggest one. So Jones or Gravenberch.
I think it will be Gravenberch.
Gravenberch.
Okay. Salah or Doak or another.
I think Doak to start and Mo coming on.
I wouldn't shock me if Elliott started there, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that's another shout.
And then what?
That gives you another
Gravenberch and
midfield.
Jones maybe in the midfield if that's the case.
Yeah.
He tried McAllister finally in an 8 against Toulouse, and if he was looking to make a case for staying in that role permanently, he did not make it in that match. This is another outside
at right back as punishment.
Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Okay, I feel like we're getting close, but does anyone want to go balls out here?
Okay. Kelleher,
Yeah.
Trent, Kanate, Kwanzaa, Gomez, Endo, Jones, Gravenberch, Elliott on the right, Diaz on the left, Gakpo up top.
Like it. You having that, Dad?
Yeah, well, I'm up into that.
I like that. I think you might have nailed that there, Chris Pajak. We shall see.
I mean, there's no chance.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. We'll reveal that team when the team is revealed by Liverpool's official Twitter account on the Unboo, which is an hour or so before kick-off on Thursday. Steve and Errol in the studio for that one, so make sure you come and check out the watch-along. We've got loads of boss things happening, of course, across Redmen. In the meantime, do head over to Redmen Plus and sign up if you need more Liverpool podcasts.
Mate, the legend
videos.
Competition.
Let me just tell you about the legend competition. So every day leading up to and including Christmas Day, we're going to be giving away a piece of a Liverpool goodie, ranging from things like beer mats and posters and prints and books and jumpers and sweatshirts, of course. But we've also got loads of signed gear as well. So we've got a captain's armband signed by Lucas Leiva. We've got a goalie glove signed by Chris Kirkland. We've got 2 amazing signed shirts. We've got a 2007 Liverpool home shirt signed by Dirk Kuyt, and we've got last season's home shirt signed by Ibu Konate. If you want to be in those daily prize draws, head to redmenplus.com, join as a legend tier subscriber, and not only do you get all the amazing content that we do, including coming on Christmas, that's a different show altogether. Including coming on Christmas. It's our Porn Up special. We've got the 50 greatest Liverpool signings of all time, a 2-part special coming out over Christmas as well. Yeah, head to redmenplus.com, join as a legend, and have a legendary Christmas. I forget about these things when I do. It's been a long while since I've done a show with you, Dad. Hi, that wasn't awkward at all. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully Liverpool come back 3 points and a place in the knockout round of the Europa League. Ta-ra. Thank you so very, very much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. The season is now well underway. If you need extra Redmen content, be it podcast, videos, documentaries, interviews, and general shows, fill your boots on redmenplus.com today.